Upon a Distant Wind, a short story by Neil M. Thorne. I remember once my mother sat me on her knee and, pointing to the stars, said, "It's been coming for such a long time now." In wonder, I asked when it would get here, but with a sadness I barely recognized, she replied, "Not soon enough." That was perhaps my first memory of the probe. Though being so young, I knew little about what it actually was, or even the full meaning behind those final words. At that age, I never realized the seriousness of her illness, or how she wanted so much to be present for everything that followed. Like all things, though, everything comes to pass, and life goes on. The discovery of the probe was announced long before I was born. Coming from outside our solar system, an undeniable signal had been detected and was getting closer. Naturally, this fact was kept secret until more could be learnt. But it was impossible to hide something of this magnitude, and before long the story was leaked. The object was approaching at extreme speed, and aside from the signal, which itself was little more than a repetitive bleep, nothing else was known. With so much left to speculation, it is unsurprising why this news caused panic, for though some theorized it could be a probe, a fear grew that it was a prelude to alien invasion. Fortunately, there was no cause for concern, as such were the great distances involved that the unknown object would not reach us for several more decades. In fact, even with its great speed, the probe had been travelling the dark spaces between the stars for hundreds of thousands of years. When the moment came, we were ready, and the first images to come back made a lasting impression. Though not perfectly clear, they gave a glimpse of a distant visitor that had voyaged eternity. Any fear held up until then fell away, for like our first steps away from Earth, this too was a messenger, its purpose undoubtedly to seek out and make contact. Being so fast, it shot through our system in the blink of an eye, and passed through twice more over the next 30 years before finally slowing enough in its orbit to be reached. It was a moment that could have been achieved far earlier had we, as a species, been able to reach agreement as to who had right to the probe. It was a debate that raged a lifetime and came close to conflict on more occasions than was deserved. Through it all, an agreement was made that no one nation or person within it had a right to lay claim. It belonged to no one, and as a consequence, any and all discoveries would be shared with the whole world. The probe was retrieved with almost effortless ease, though it was a further 2 years until it reached the shores of Earth. Only then could we begin to learn about our distant visitor. Some hoped it might contain answers to all the secrets of the universe, whilst others joked it could just be an intergalactic sales call. When it was announced organic matter was found inside, the world was stunned. It was unthinkable to believe anything could have survived so long in deep space. But the greatest revelation was yet to come. Despite the results being rechecked by many independent specialists, there was no doubt it could be anything other than human in origin. The only thing to offer any answer was that though sharing many of the same genetic similarities, the DNA was not quite the same. In fact, it was ancient. This gave rise to a doubt that Earth may not be our native homeland, and that this distant messenger is a reminder as to humanity's true origins. At some point in our future, technology may advance to such a level that we could overtake the probes sent out by our ancestors, leaving them far behind to travel their lonely path. New worlds would be discovered, and then as surely as civilizations rise, they fall, forgetting everything, until history comes calling. Strangely, the world remains unchanged. Life, as ever, goes on, but at least now with a little more wonder. Like my mother, I will not be present for whatever steps are taken next, but I am thankful to have borne witness to the changes within us all. With renewed enthusiasm, humanity once more looks out at the stars, for we heard our name called upon a distant wind, and now have a longing to return. Thank you for listening, and if you have enjoyed this story, please feel free to like, comment, and follow for more.